show, we're going to talk about how to lower your cost per view on your YouTube ads or by your YouTube ads campaign, guaranteed every effing time here. So, and I do mean guaranteed. There's a specific process that I have to get the cost per view down. I'm going to give you what that process is. I'm going to give you a few different examples of where we did this for various companies, including our own company to advertise our own firm. So you could replicate the same exact results that we're getting that'll drop your cost roughly 90% of where you start out with when you start up a campaign for your brand. Obviously, cost per view is not just a nice to have, you gotta have it in order to make your campaign profitable enough to pay for itself and that you can scale. Have a profitable campaign you can actually run that will go on to making you millions of dollars with your ad. So it can literally decide whether you make no money, in fact lost money, or making the $10 million in revenue and furthermore profit that spends off of that over the next 10 years of using that one video ad and that one targeting model, if you will, that works. So you pay attention because this is the formula that you're going to want to use for it, and that I also personally use for myself at my firm. So, getting into the content. Part of your success with YouTube ads has to do with getting the CPV or cost per view down to better and better, lower and lower numbers. And there's a repeatable process to this, as I mentioned at the start of this video. By the way, to clarify cost per view, what this actually is a view of your video ad of at least 30 seconds. It's the same thing that YouTube counts as a view on organic videos that you post to your channel. So it's the same definition whether you're running a paid ad or this is just an organic view that you would have got on your YouTube channel views. If somebody watches at least 30 seconds, it's counted as a view. So what YouTube is charging you per view has to do with that 30-second or greater view on your video. Or by the way, if your video is less than 30 seconds, then technically it would be the whole video itself, just as a small caveat or whatnot. But for all practical purposes, video ads, unless you're talking about like bumper ads, which I don't recommend running unless you're like Oreo cookies and everybody knows what your cookie is and you're just being top of mind. For everybody else, 99% of you guys that are watching this, that's not what you're doing. You need people that are unaware of your product or service or company to become aware so that they'll become a customer, turning cold audiences into customers or clients. And so in that case, you're using in-stream ads and you're doing a video ad at least 30 seconds. Between 30 and 90 seconds is the sweet spot on making money from video ads that will do that for you. Depending on how technical or complicated your product is, you'll be on the higher end of that range, i.e. closer to 90 seconds. And if it's less complicated, you're on the side of 30 seconds. Your goal is to always use you make the video as long as necessary to get the point across that you need to get across so people understand, know, and ultimately know your value proposition in that ad. If you make it longer than you need, you'll lose money because not as many people will get to the end of the ad to click the button to get to your landing page. Obviously, if you make it too short, though, where the consumer doesn't truly get the value proposition, then you're not going to get people to click through the ending call to action button at the end of your video to get to your site because they don't know why they should. So as long as necessary is the so-called answer to how long should my video be, just as a side. But obviously, long story short, the lower your cost per view, the higher your profits, okay? YouTube is all about maximizing the viewer retention through the entire ad, starting with the right targeting and getting people past the skip button, past the first 5 seconds of the video so they don't just click the skip button, past the initial 30 seconds threshold to get you as counted as a view, to the end of the video so they have the option of deciding whether they want to go to your website or not, and then getting people to get through the call to action button at the end of the video to get a viewer to your site. The more people that, the higher the percentage it gets through each step, the cheaper your cost per click is going to be to your site. And the cheaper the cost per click, of course, also the more money, more profit you're going to make from that ad placement. So with that said, okay, first of all, what determines what my cost per view is going to be, and then how do I get it as low as possible? I mentioned there's a repeatable process here that will get it much, much lower, basically 90% lower than what you're going to start out with. What you start out with in terms of a cost per view is going to be dictated by your market itself. If you're selling personal injury law services for people that get in car accidents, you're trying to help people sue the other party that that hit that person, if you will, that fallen in a car accident, personal injury law, to advertise to somebody who's searching for how to sue somebody for a car accident or related content, you're going to be paying $50 for 1,000 views, or even a little bit more. Whereas if you're targeting somebody watching prank videos, you're going to be paying basically not $5 per 1,000, but 50 cents per 1,000 or $1 per 1,000. Sorry, I just got a little bit mixed up on my numbers. Shouldn't have took me that long to figure that out. But you get the general idea. The gap where you lie on that spectrum has to do with the competitiveness of the audience that you're trying to target. Generally speaking, the more money there is in a business, the more that the cost per view is going to be, at least starting out. But you can get the cost per view much, much lower, 90% lower than where you start, as long as you follow the right system for what YouTube wants from an advertiser, and that also coincides with what the viewer is going to find as useful. YouTube wants to show video ads to people that like the ads and what they see and are helped by and liked enough to actually want to take the advice from, because that gets people that want to pay attention to ads in the future. Otherwise, if YouTube only showed the people with the most money's ads, but guess what? People would more often just click the skip button on the ads, and they wouldn't make as much future revenue as they could trying to also optimize for ads that are actually going to help their viewers. So if you show YouTube, and more specifically Google here, that you actually, when you get your ad shown, people like your ad, they're going to want to show you more and then reward you by charging less per view as a way to keep you to stick around. So the system's set up basically in that people that do a really shitty job of having a really crappy ad and an ad that's not relevant to who you're targeting on top of that, which kind of they go hand in hand, if you will, sort of. They want to charge you so much per view that you can't afford to make money, and then you're just shuffled out. Whereas the people that crush it, that have a video ad that's in the top 1%, they want to charge you so little per view that there's no way that you're not going to see a return, so that there's no way you're going to leave. They want to keep you to stick around, and their goal is to shuffle in people. Here's Google's business model as a whole. Let's get a shitload of people to start advertising. 90% of them are going to be real dog shit in terms of their strategy and giving a shit whether the consumer likes their ad or not. Let's get them in, let's take their money, let's take them for all they're worth quickly before they recognize they're not making money, and then get them the hell out of here. The 1 in 10 who does a decent job, let's reward them with a lower cost per view and keep them around. And then shuffle 10 more in, keep 1, shuffle 10 in, keep 1, and eventually over time, we've got a decent amount of people to show their video ads to users, so most people get a good experience, but while still having 10% of the people coming in as an experimentation, so that we could keep finding ads that are good to replace the few people that are having good ads that will inevitably drop out anyway, but also find people that will nip at the heels of the people that they already know are good, as to keep those people on their toes so that they also continue to self-improve and not just rest on their laurels here and not do anything else with their ad, test anything else to try to self-improve even after they did a pretty good job already. So that the system and the ads that they're able to show users consistently just keeps getting better and better and better and better, so that YouTube users have a better experience. They're less likely to get ad block. They're less likely to click the skip button. So you get the general premise of what Google's looking for. Google's looking for what the user's looking for or appreciates, not to say looking for, but appreciates. And if you get the user something that they appreciate that helps them out, Google will scratch your back by helping scratch theirs by making their users want to see ads in the future. Got it? So with that said, how do you make an ad that helps the user that they find useful so Google wants to scratch your proverbial back and lower your cost per view, which is what you're going to get once you do that? I've ranked basically ranked these by their impact on your cost per view and ultimately how, just basically your impact on your cost per view. No matter whether you do these things or not, if you do it, the ad system, the ad algorithm that decides what you're charged per view for what part of the cost per view that's based upon your merits and how well you're doing as an advertiser, given half of it is kind of just going to be based upon the market rates for getting people to see your ad that are in a certain market. The other half is going to be based upon how good your ad is. You might start out with $50 cost per view, but you can get it down to $10. I'm drawing a blank here again. $10 cost per view just by having not a good ad and then having Google recognize that. But the system isn't going to get you from 50 to 10 right away. Google's system is going to have to try your ad out for a while because the machine learning system doesn't know a good ad from a bad ad. All they know is they can watch what people do when they see your ad versus other people in your market do when they see your competition's ad and grade you and see if you're doing better or worse in terms of audience retention on your ad and people who click through the ad to rate whether that ad's relevant to your users or the users that you're trying to market to and that people are trying to market to in your market. Are you at the top of the pile? Are you at the bottom of the pile? Or are you somewhere in the middle? So you throw the best ad out there that you can using this system here that I'm giving you here that I use in all my campaigns to guarantee our clients results at our firm, because that's what we got to do to get paid. And then you wait for the inevitable to happen, i.e. the system recognizes that you have a better ad than your competition in your space and that you should be rewarded thereof with a lower cost per view. Of the part of the cost per view that you can influence through having the best ad that's not dependent on market rates for views in your niche, 40% of your cost per view that you can control itself comes down to the message relevancy. If you're selling a replacement part for a Hoover Vac 1287 vacuum and you have a video ad that shows up for that exact part, your video ad could be god awful, but you probably will still have good metrics as far as Google sees it because you're so relevant. Or do stuff like my favorite strategy on YouTube ads is to get people that are watching a video about our competitor's product, a review itself. So like we've sold toolboxes, somebody looking at a review of a competitor's toolbox will show up during that video ad saying, before you buy XYZ competitor toolbox, see why their toolbox isn't the best value for your money. Click here. And then driving them to a landing page that compares that toolbox to our toolbox and how it's a better value for their money. And in that case, you're so relevant that, again, you don't have to have that great of skills to make a good ad on your copy, your scripting, all of that stuff, because it's so relevant. So a lot of this getting your cost per view down just comes down to not being lazy first of all, picking the right audience to target. People that look at your competitors' products or services reviews is the most qualified buyer you can get in front of in the first place. And then furthermore, making sure on top of that, you don't have a video ad that just works for everybody. You make a custom video ad for people that are looking into that specific competitor so that you can be ultra relevant. And nobody does this, which is why when you do it, you're going to be in the top 1% almost right away from that one stinking fact alone. So that's 40% of the equation, being relevant. Then another 30% of the equation as to whether or not you're going to be paying the standard cost per view everybody else pays or cost per view that's 90% less than that, comes down to the video script / structure. Now I've got a video ad, or not video, a video on this channel about how to write, how to use a script for YouTube ads that works every time. If you're trying to figure out how to make this work, I recommend you watch that video next. And the script structure generally starts out like, you have jock itch. This product here guarantees jock itch will go away within 15 seconds. The reason for this is we have patent pending technology on jock itch creams that was made by a scientist in the Alps. And there's 14,000 people who use this jock itch cream already that are saying it's amazing all over social media. And we're offering a 10% discount on the jock itch cream for this month only. That's the general script formula that works. And it's based upon the AIDA model of writing an ad, if you want to look into that further. And then we'll go into further detail on copywriting and stuff like that. But that structure of the ad, doing it in the right order, getting their interest right away within the first 5 seconds so they don't click the skip button. Going back to what I said before, the more that gets past the skip button, the more money you can make. Then getting into specifically, the user wants to buy what your product or service does for them in terms of benefit. They don't want to buy the product, they want to buy what the product is going to do for them. So explaining right away that what you promised in the first 5 seconds as your hook to get them past the skip button, make it real. This is how we're going to deliver that end result for you. Bang, right away. Want to cure jock itch? This jock itch cream fixes your problem, guaranteed right away because it's a patent pending, blah, 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 blah. So that's 30% of what's going to dictate on the part of the cost per view that you can influence itself for you. Then another 15% of the cost per view that you can influence has to do with using the visuals. So as you notice here, the script / structure of how you're actually saying the language on that script or on that video is more than the actual visuals. If you get that script right, the visuals, you could be using stock images, literally speaking, and still do real well. So, but you can get a lot more results if you use the proper visuals, specifically reel footage. So a lot of you guys want to save money by using stock footage. Don't do it. Get real photos of people using your product and what your products deliver and before and afters and that kind of stuff, because it adds legitimacy to your offer and your video and gets, because the user, again, if you want to crush it, doing video ads to show a video ad to somebody who doesn't know who the hell you are and turn them into a customer right away and within a 30-second time period, the more real you can seem in that video ad, the more people are going to want to click through and trust you in that short period of time. Show them intimately what you're about, not stock images. Stock images just looks like you're half-assing it or you're trying to hide something, which is more so the issue. So, and then real footage, and then the pace of the video. How quickly are you transitioning from one visual to another? The more transitions you have up to a certain limit, the more retention you're going to have of people staying to the end of the video because it's not boring. So you may want to skimp and just have a video of some guy talking, but you'd be better off having transitions to certain thing, or if it's a guy talking, have visuals show up next to that person's head, like I like to do in our video ads. But you get the general gist of this. It's due to TikTok people have fried their damn brains. They have very, very little attention spans. So that's why, if you're, at least today, 2023, and I'm sure it's going to get worse in the future, even more so, to have good video ad retention, you need to be switching up the visuals every 2, 3, 4 seconds even. It's that bad now. So that's also something to consider. That's 15% of the cost per view that you get, whether you get a high or a low cost per view. And whether you get that 90% reduction in cost per view from where you start out at by having a fantastic ad with great user metrics. There's another 15% of your cost per view that will be based upon I meant to put CTA instead of CTR. Your CTA / offer structure. So whether or not, how is it, a lot of you guys are just offering the product as is. If you're asking for a decent amount of money, then what you want to do is not offer for them to buy. You offer them something that's less than that. A ebook or entry to a webinar or what have you. If you're selling anything over $100 for a video ad, I recommend offering info, not offering the product. Like in the example with the toolbox before, I mentioned how in that particular instance, we weren't trying to sell the toolbox, saying it was better than that competitor's toolbox that they were looking at before they saw our ad. We're explaining how that product is not the best product in the niche. So click here to find out why or how. And so we're offering information in that case. Even though it's not an ebook, we're sending them to a page which they can read the information, which, by the way, I don't really even believe ebooks are the best way to go about doing things unless that information's so sought after, you could put it behind a gate like that and still get them to want it. But most of the time, it's just better to send them to a page that gives them the info right away. That way, there's no people bouncing, because a certain amount of people bouncing just because they don't want to put it in their email. So, it could be like, how are you framing what you're offering to get them to the next step forward? All you got to do is get them to the next step forward, because then you can do another thing to get them another step forward. And then so instead of asking all in one thing for them to buy, you break it up into chunks and micro commitments. The offer itself, if you do offer just everything for them to buy all in one shot, how can you structure it so that it instills it gets people to act at a higher rate than they normally would have, i.e. you do something called scarcity or false scarcity, if you want to call it that. Some people call it that, where November only Thanksgiving special, 15% off until the end of Thanksgiving and until Thanksgiving's over. And that way the procrastinators that said they saw your ad, they liked your ad, thought it was interesting, but they want to get back to what they were doing, which was watching that original video that they were watching. You get somebody to say, I may forget about this ad, and the code, you have a discount code for the Thanksgiving, make them think, if I don't act on this right now, I'll forget this discount code, I might as well just do it now. And you get the percentage of people that you've convinced but are procrastinators to act now, or needed to spend their money on something else, but now you got them to allocate what they were going to spend their money on to your stuff, because if they wait past a few more days, they're going to have to pay 15% more. So that's another way to change up the structure. And how this has to do with your cost per view is the percentage of people that make it to the end of your video will affect your rating on how Google sees you as an advertiser in your ad. The percentage of people who click through your ad also goes into that at a certain degree, because that indicates that you did a really good job. They didn't even just watch the whole video ad, but they got to the point where they wanted more information. That's the ultimate sign that your video ad was relevant and good for the viewer. So you also want to focus on that as well. So tying all this together, without touching your ads, you could, if you just start out with the right targeting, the right ad like I gave you there, what you pay for a view day one, when you launch that ad in that campaign, it'll be, you'll pay 90% of that starting amount that is mainly based upon the cost per view and your business niche. You'll pay 90% less than the cost per view that you start out with. And at what time intervals, starting out after about 1,000 views, did everything I told you here right, you're going to be paying half of what your cost per view that you started out with. Once about another 2,000 more views go by, or in other words, once you get about 3,000 views deep, you're going to have another 50% dropped off your cost per view. Going another final step forward, if you get past 10,000 views on that particular ad, Google's algorithm is going to have a pretty good feel already on what your ad's capable of, and you should get that final 50% drop in cost per view. Which you technically could go more than this, but that's kind of, if I have to average it out between all the videos that I've seen, the cost per views will go down by 50%, by 50%, by 50%, kind of as you go through it like that. And that's about what you can expect if you do the video ad right. So in a lot of markets, this is going to be the make or break. The video ad itself, is it going to be good at converting the user's attention into immediate interest enough to where they'll stop what they were doing watching that video and doing what you wanted to do on the other end of that ad. So in the market like personal injury law, like I was mentioning before, where you're paying $50 per 1,000 times that the ad shows, you can pay $8 per 1,000, and that's what you need to make it work. And so in a competitive market like that, basically, if you want to make money, that you've got to be in the top 10% of the people who can put together a decent ad. Why? Because Google's priced the cost per view in that market to what most people in that market will. Again, going back to what I was saying before, Google's goal is to keep pushing people to do better jobs with their ads. They want it so that 20% basically in that market can make money and the rest don't. So you got to be in basically that top 20%. And furthermore, if they put the cost per view too high, nobody would want the ads. So you just got to be able to outcompete what the other people in your industry are doing in order to afford the ad space, whereas everybody else is either going to make little to no money with that same ad space. So can you do more with the ad space than the competition? It's more so about that than can I make an effective ad that will work. You're not operating in a vacuum. You're directly competing with all the other people in your space. Assuming you're in a competitive market, there's a lot of markets where there's no competitors, and then you really are just kind of operating on a different set of principles there. But respectively, generally speaking, you have competition on video, on YouTube of some sort, and you got to be in the top 20% in that case for it to really pay off for you, if you will. And even if you have no competition, you're still competing with somebody. It's just you're competing with all other advertisers on that platform at that stage. So it's never going to be no competition. You still got to be able to rank well against all the other people advertising to the people that you want to advertise to. Then it's not about the niche per se, but the people that you're advertising to. And who else is trying to advertise to them and being in the top 20% of people who can get the user to view the ad all the way at the highest rate, and then who can get the people to click through that ad at the highest rate. So with that said, I pretty much spelled out what cost per view means, how to get it to where you're paying the cheapest cost per view in your market and in general, so that you can make money with your ads every time and pay 90% less than what the average person's paying when they start out advertising that's doing a shit approach, basically starting out. So with that said, hopefully that puts into perspective this whole thing for you. If you did like the video and saw a lot of value from it, I would really greatly appreciate if you would give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to this channel, as I have a ton of other content like this on this channel where I go through all other aspects of how to make money with online ads. Google ads, Facebook ads, you name it, I cover it on this channel. Why? Because I do the strategy for dozens of different clients and ad accounts on an ongoing basis. And this whole channel is just me revealing what we find works as well as what doesn't work, so you can make millions of dollars with online ads for your business. And so it's coming straight from the source, whereas opposed to other YouTubers who are talking about online advertising, that are selling courses and they don't do strategy on dozens of accounts on an ongoing basis, which is that makes all the difference on whether the information you're receiving is relevant enough for you to make money from it or not, really, truly. So you should subscribe. And I also, by the way, have a blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog where you can also find other information for myself on how to make money, actual step-by-step information on how to make money with ads, online ads specifically. And furthermore, I also have if you like my written content, I have a column that I've started recently on entrepreneur.com. So if you want to check out my writing there, you can also see really good content from myself there about the latest and greatest on what's working as well as what doesn't work anymore as well. If you have any questions about anything I covered here in terms of video ads or just online advertising in general for that matter, I'm happy to answer your questions if you leave me a comment in the comment section. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. Beyond that, if you are looking for the best ad strategist and manager and agency to work on your account to get you more sales results from your current advertising spend or to get a campaign up and going for your brand, I'd love to hear from you. You should reach out to my firm at guaranteedppc.com. I'll give you a free assessment on what you're doing and what I would do if I was in your business to increase my results. With that, I can guarantee you a certain amount of minimum results on your campaign before taking any fees from you at all. If what you have shows like it has a lot of potential and I could get results with it, I'll tell you what results we can bring, and before we would need to charge any fees at all. So if you're interested in a free analysis/assessment from myself, reach out to me, my firm, and I'll be happy to give that to you. If you're not looking for an ad agency, if we've worked in your market before, you should check out potentially what results we got in your market, because we sell the ad templates that work for your market as well. We can tell you what results we already get in your market, and if there's no conflict of interest with our current clients, which there generally obviously is not going to be, then we could sell you basically the templates where you can copy and paste results into your ad accounts already as well. So that is going to be quicker, easier, cheaper than figuring all this stuff out for yourself in your market, because we spent years to develop the results we have in your market more than likely, and therefore you're getting the gold-plated version of it that already works without all the money and time. And you'll literally spend more money trying to figure out what works in your market than what we charge for the template. So you should reach out to us if you're interested in that as well. But I'll wrap it up just with that, and I hope to see you on my next video where we'll have another great strategy for you then to learn some more about how to make money with online advertising. Hope to see you then. See you later.